Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're immersing ourselves in a source that presents a really singular, almost monumental challenge to its readers. Our source material is from a daily devotional, Rhapsody of Realities by Pastor Chris.
Yeah, it's framed as this huge theological call to action. So grand, in fact, they call it the climax of human history.
That's the one. We're digging into excerpts from a daily devotional, and it really centers on this one powerful concept, our magnum opus.
Exactly, and it defines this magnum opus as, well, the grandest, most essential work there is a divine assignment, basically.
So our mission today is to really unpack the sheer scale of this claim. What exactly is this magnum opus?
And what kind of commitment does the source expect from people? That's a big part of it.
Right. And maybe most critically, why does this text insist that this generation, right now, is uniquely positioned, even mandated, to complete this massive, centuries-old task?
It's a really compelling narrative they build. It positions this moment, our current time, as the absolute peak of this long historical mission.
It doesn't just invite you to join in, does it? It basically says success depends entirely on your dedication.
Pretty much. Yeah. So maybe let's start with how the source actually defines the assignment itself. What are we talking about here?
Okay. Yeah, when the source defines this magnum opus, it's certainly not vague. It's laid out very clearly, like a three-part directive.
Right. What are those parts?
First, bringing salvation to the nations. Second, expanding God's kingdom across the globe.
Okay. Standard mission concept so far.
And third, and this seems key, it's explicitly about completing the work that the Lord Jesus started, finishing it.
The completion aspect. And that term magnum opus, that's really interesting, isn't it?
It is. What do you make of that specific choice of words?
Well, usually, in a secular context, a magnum opus is an artist's or writer's greatest single work, their masterpiece.
Right, like their defining achievement.
Exactly. So by applying that term here, the devotional immediately elevates this spiritual mission. It puts it on the highest possible level, kind of making it dwarf any other personal or worldly ambition.
That's a great point. It completely reframes what success means. And the source really hammers home this urgency about finishing by pointing to Jesus himself.
You mean the quote from John?
Yeah, John 4:34. Jesus says, "My meat is to do the will of him that sent me and to finish his work."
Right. So the implication is crystal clear. Real dedication means focusing on getting the job done, wrapping it up, not just chipping away at it forever.
The text really establishes that the goal isn't just, participating or making an effort. It's about the absolute conclusion of the task.
And that dedication to completion, that sets the standard, the mindset that the source demands from you, the reader, today.
So what actually kicks this whole mission off? Where does the core directive come from?
Well, it points back to that foundational command, doesn't it? The one that sort of drives the whole thing.
Mark 16:15. It highlights that explicitly. Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature.
That's the engine. That specific active instruction is what powers this whole idea of the magnum opus.
And it connects this to a bigger divine purpose too, right? There's a mention of Isaiah.
Yes, Isaiah 53 point lem around. It links the mission's success to, quote, the pleasure of the Lord prospering in the servant's hand.
So success isn't about personal glory or recognition.
Not at all. It's defined purely as the flourishing and, crucially, the conclusion of this global mandate. It all ties back to finishing the job.
Okay, so that brings us to this really huge claim the source makes. You touched on it earlier. Others started this work centuries ago.
We've been called to complete it. That's the line.
Yeah. This generation is positioned as the one for the grand finale. I mean, that's quite a statement.
It really is.
Yeah.
But we need to look at how they justify that. Why us? Why now?
Does the source give reasons? It can't just be willpower.
Oh, it gives reasons. It claims this generation is uniquely prepared. In fact, it says we are the most equipped generation in the history of the church.
Wow. Okay, most equipped. That's a massive assertion. It implies that every generation before us, for 2,000 years, lacked something vital that we supposedly have now.
Exactly. So what are these specific resources or advantages they point to?
What does the source list? It must be more than just, spiritual readiness.
It lists a whole set of endowments, actually. Things very relevant today. Knowledge, insight, platforms, resources, and even divine connections.
Okay, let's pause on that list. Platforms that immediately makes you think of the internet, right? Social media, global communication.
Instant broadcasting. Things that simply didn't exist for, well, almost all of Christian history.
So the ability to preach the gospel to every creature, as Mark 16 says, is technologically feasible in a way it never ever was before.
That seems to be exactly the argument. The source suggests that those old barriers, the logistical nightmares, the cost, the sheer time involved in travel and communication, they've been drastically reduced.
And this technological leap is interpreted as what? Divine provision, like God gave us the tools.
That's the framing. It essentially removes the old excuses related to means and access.
Which leads to that very direct statement in the source. There are no excuses.
Right. We have the message, we have the mandate, and we have the means.
It's like shifting the burden entirely. It's not about finding resources anymore. It's about using the resources we apparently already have.
And that phrase, no excuses, it carries a lot of rhetorical weight, doesn't it?
It does. It implies that if the mission remains unfinished, the responsibility lies squarely with us, this generation, because we're the only ones who've had this full toolkit.
That definitely raises the stakes. So if we are this grand finale generation, what's the ultimate point? Why finish it now? What happens then?
Yeah, what's the end game according to the source?
Well, this urgency connects directly to their eschatological vision.
Okay, eschatology dealing with the end times, final events in theology.
Precisely. The source explicitly links the completion of this global preaching mission to the arrival of the end. It cites Matthew 24.14.
Ah, that key verse. This gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come.
Exactly. So the material is asserting that finishing this specific task, getting the gospel everywhere, is the necessary prerequisite. It's almost like the trigger event for whatever comes next in their theological timeline.
That creates a massive incentive for immediate, intense action then. It's not just about doing good works.
No, it's positioned as the direct path toward fulfilling prophecy. The mission becomes fundamentally tied to the unfolding of the end times.
So putting the pieces together, the source claims the world is ready, the tools are here, and once the gospel reaches, as they say, every nation, every city, and every community, then the stage is set for the end.
And the final outcome hinges on this singular effort by this specific generation.
Okay, so given that framework that you, the listener, are potentially a key player in this grand finale, the conversation has to shift to the practical side, right?
Absolutely. How does this incredibly high-stakes theological idea translate into everyday life changes? What are you supposed to do?
The sources get into this by talking about integrating the mission into your normal life goals. And this might be where it gets really challenging for a lot of people.
How so?
It explicitly tells the listener to set personal targets for the full preaching of the gospel right alongside their standard long-term goals.
So alongside planning your career or saving for a house or planning trips?
Yeah. You're supposed to also have concrete goals for your contribution to finishing this global mission. That creates a potential tension, doesn't it?
A huge tension. The devotional uses Jesus as the model, saying his focus was finishing his mission, implying your life plan should mirror that same single-minded focus.
But for most people living in the modern world, trying to balance a demanding global mission with, jobs, families, just daily life, that's a fundamental conflict.
It is, and the source seems to acknowledge that by demanding a level of commitment that's, well, far beyond casual involvement.
It asks for wholehearted dedication. What does that look like practically?
It means giving more of your time, your energy, and crucially, your resources specifically to the gospel effort, prioritizing it.
And the text frames this contribution not as a sacrifice, but as an investment yielding an eternal harvest.
Right. It contrasts the temporary rewards of career or money with a payoff that supposedly lasts forever. It's presenting an investment strategy focused on, well, infinite returns.
So it's not just about big one-off gestures.
No, the practical actions are described as ongoing disciplines. Things like staying committed day to day, praying for specific outcomes like interceding for sinners, and actively persevering in love even when it's hard.
It sounds like it demands constant spiritual upkeep, staying fervent and yielded to the Spirit, as the source puts it, a kind of full-spectrum dedication.
Yeah, pervading every part of life. And it's not just time and energy. It gets specific about money, too.
Ah, the financial aspect. What does it say there?
There's a clear instruction that your financial involvement should continue, and it should be aimed at bearing lasting fruits for the kingdom.
So money isn't just for personal use, it's seen as a strategic tool for mission completion.
Exactly. And this financial commitment really underscores that sense of urgency. If we are, as the source insists, in the final stretch.
Then holding back resources or delaying your involvement doesn't make sense within their framework.
Right. The whole argument is that delay is basically unacceptable because the means, the mandate, everything is supposedly aligned right now.
Okay, so let's try to synthesize the core arguments we've unpacked here in this deep dive.
Sounds good.
The mission, this magnum opus, is defined very specifically. It's the global completion of spreading the gospel and expanding the kingdom.
Check. And the current generation is labeled the grand finale generation. Why? Because we're uniquely equipped technology, knowledge, platforms.
Which leads to the stark conclusion, no excuses.
Right. And the required response that flows from that is nothing less than total commitment.
Which means reordering your personal life goals to prioritize this divine assignment.
And dedicating your time, your energy, your money wholeheartedly to make sure the gospel covers the earth.
Because, according to the text, that action is what will trigger the eschatological conclusion they describe. The end.
It's a really potent narrative built on some incredibly bold claims about history, purpose, and this present moment.
It really is. So, if we take the source's premise at face value just for a moment, that this generation is the most equipped, that we have been handed this ultimate historical mission.
Then the stakes of everyday life suddenly look very different.
Exactly. So the final thought for you, the listener, has to be this. If the ultimate measure of success, according to this material, is finishing this one divine mission,
then how should you reevaluate your own hierarchy of long-term goals?
your career path, your travel dreams, your very definition of personal success? How do they stack up against or align with this definitive magnum opuses?
That's definitely something to mull over.
Yeah.
A challenging question raised by this text.
For more information on how you can grow spiritually using Rhapsody of Realities, please visit our website, www.rhapsodyofrealities.org, or you can also visit rin.rhapsodyofrealities.org/salvation. Thank you.